What is up, everybody? Tim Anderson here, aka Renfail, back again with an update on my adventures in Star Trek Online. So, for those of you who have been following along, I started a character, I'd say about a month ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, to sort of check out Star Trek Online on the console. I've been playing this on the Xbox on my Series X. And I originally, did a first impressions video, and then I kind of did an is it worth playing after I maybe put in about 10 hours into the game or so. And I have since continued to play once or twice a week, usually for 2 to 3 hours each time. And I've played some weeks I've played more than one session. I've played 2 or 3 sessions. I've done a few streams. And I kind of wanted to just check in with everybody now that I made it to level 50. I'm actually level 51 now. And I wanted to just dive into the game and talk about some of the things that I have taken away from the game now that I've been playing it for a significant chunk of time. Obviously, I have not dove into the end game. I will never do PvP because I hate PvP, so I just don't do PvP in any game that I play. So I will never do PvP here. But there are things I'd like to talk about. I feel that this is a really good game. There are some pros and cons I would like to discuss. I guess you could kind of consider this more of an in-depth review now that I've had enough time to really sink my teeth in a game and get to level 50. There's still a lot more to see and do. Like, I've barely even scratched the surface of what this game has available, but that's, I think that maybe goes without saying considering this is an older MMO. I'm playing this in 2023. The game's been out for, I don't know, 10 years now or something like that. So it's had a lot of time to get content out, and I've just barely scratched the surface of what content is available. So without further ado, I'm going to dive into sort of a rambling discourse on all things Star Trek Online. And if you like that and you're new here and you haven't already done so, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update as I continue to cover this game and other games. I play lots of RPGs, MMORPGs, tabletop games. We have our Starfinder actual play series. I do the Mondays of Middle Earth read through. I do books, TV shows, and film reviews. Tons of stuff happens here on the channel, so check out the other playlists. And please support if you can, because I do get to stay on the air and do this full time thanks to the support of our community members. So you can do super chats on any premiere or live stream, super thanks on any upload or YouTube short that you see, as well as memberships here on the channel. Plus, we have a Discord and a Patreon page, which we'll talk more about at the end of the video. So without further ado, let's dive into my overview of Star Trek Online. Alright, so I think for me, one of the things that I noticed right out of the gate that the game does really well for new players is they have streamlined the mission process or the missions so that it's really easy to get into the game and get going and play through the game and get all sorts of storyline content, which levels you up quickly and gets you access to the free ships. So essentially, it's the level 1 to level 50 level range. Now, I can go into the missions right now, and we've actually not completed all of them. But if I go into the mission journal, this is what I'm talking about. Go into the episodes, and going through the episode content, I started off with the Discovery introduction series of quests with this character. So I started off in the Discovery timeline and ran through, I think it was the first 8 or 10 levels before it transported me into the the real game, and then I started just working my way down. So it started me off with the Klingon War. We then did the Romulan Mystery. We then went and did the Cardassian Struggle. We then did the Borg Advance. We then did New Romulus. And then I have since started the Selene Dyson's Fear. And the funny thing is if you look down through here, I still have all of that was what got me to level 50, right? I still have a ton left to go. There's still the Delta Quadrant, the Iconian War, Yesterday's War, Future Proof, New Frontiers, the Gamma Quadrant, Juala's Discovery, the Klingon Civil War, and the Terran Gambit, which I've actually done a couple of missions for because that's part of like the current, as I understand it, like the current season of events. So I just wanted to see what the modern version of the game looked like, because like with most games, like if you're looking at, say, Star Wars: Old Republic or Lord of the Rings Online, where these games, these legacy games that have been around for a decade, you know, their early content is like the legacy content, and that was when their world builders and everything, all those people were sort of new at their jobs, and so the game looked a certain way. But as the technology progressed and as those team members got better at their jobs, the content looked better, got more polished, and so forth. And it's no different here in the sense that the more modern missions, the more modern quests have full voiceovers as opposed to partial voiceovers. The animations are much better in terms of the character models that they're using for the animation cutscenes. They've got just better polish overall. But the big thing is that just in terms of episodic content, I've done not even half. I've done a third of the available mission episode storylines, and it got me to level 50, and there's still all of this left to go. And the great thing is about this is that you don't have to look and try to figure out what you're supposed to do. It's literally, it just goes in order. So you start off, you do one, you get the next one, and you can't even unlock the next one until you complete this one. And they just lead you straight into the next one, into the next one, into the next one, into the next one. And then from there, you could do these other ones, which are active missions, which may or may not be part of your mission episodes. Then there's also incoming hails, which have these other missions that are like other storylines that aren't necessarily part of the episodic content that's come out. So there's just so much to do in terms of storyline, and I think that's one of the areas where this game does it better than most other games I've ever played. The exceptions are Lord of the Rings Online and Star Wars: The Old Republic, which are two other games which have established IPs with a lot of lore behind them. And I've always said that for my money, Lord of the Rings Online is the best game on the market, MMORPG wise, for a game that gives you a story that is true to the books and is just rich with lore and text and everything else. But I like Star Wars: The Old Republic equally well because it's all presented in cutscene format and you get fully voiced and it's Star Wars. I love all things Star Wars. Having played this game now through 50 levels of content and running through, I mean, I don't even know how many missions I've done here, 40, 50 missions in total. Even though the visual quality of this game is definitely lacking, and I don't like the ground missions because of the clunkiness and everything else, and the voiceovers aren't 100% in some of the earlier missions because they didn't have the budget, I will say that if you can get past all of that, this game has exceptional storytelling, exceptional writing, and when they do it, it has pretty good voiceovers. Not necessarily from the random voiceover actors they have, but because they have the cast from the shows coming in, you've got all of these cast members from Next Generation, Discovery, so on and so forth, coming in and doing voiceovers for this game. So you've actually got all of these known actors who have come in and done really good work here. So I think from a storyline perspective and immersing you in the game, it's really good at that. And they just throw you into it right away. Like the first thing I did after Age of Discovery was the Klingon War, and it just immediately threw me into the heart of that. And it was a really fun quest line. I think the best one so far, ooh, that's a hard one. The Romulan Mystery was pretty good. It was also really long, but the Romulan Mystery was really good. But also, like I said, really, really, really long. But the Klingon War was pretty good too. The Borg Advance was short. I think it was half a dozen missions, 6, but fun. New Romulus I didn't care for that much, but it's all good, And then the Dyson Sphere is the follow-up to New Romulus, which we're working on right now. So, like I said, story. If you like story, oh, I should not have shown you guys that. I totally have a big old hole in my ratty T-shirt. If you like story, this game has it in spades. So I think that's something that it does very well right out of the gate to get new players in, if you're like me and you're new coming into the game for the first time. Now, the next thing that I really love about this game are the ships. So I don't care for the ground-based combat. The graphics aren't that great for the character models, and there's some clunkiness to everything else. But one thing that I think the game has done very, very good are the ships. And one of the things I thought was very interesting is how many of the ships from this game have become canon vessels that have shown up in the various Star Trek television shows. So it's this crazy crossover where you have voice actors, you have the actors from the show coming on and doing voiceovers for the game, but you also have things from this game in terms of ships and shuttles and things becoming things that are then used for the show. So it's a great crossover happening between the various media outlets for the franchise. And one of the cool things is, and we can kind of speed up here a little bit and take a ride around as we head to the space dock here, but you can totally customize your ship. So we're going to go down to the base, to the dock here in a minute, and talk about the customization. But like, I've customized this ship with all the colors and the types of lights that I want, and the engines and all these different things are totally customizable to you. And I think one of the things the game does really well is they give you a huge variety of ships to choose from as you're playing the game and leveling up, depending on whether you want to do a science vessel, a cruiser vessel, or so on and so forth. And you get free ships every 10 levels all the way up to level 50. Now, there is one additional tier of ships that I don't have access to, which is the T6, the tier 6 ships. You actually don't get a free T6 ship as of this recording. You only get up to the T5, which is the one I have right now. I have the cruiser, I believe. And if you want a T6, as I understand things, those are only available from the store, which you can earn credits through gameplay to eventually buy one, or you could just pay cash to get the credits to buy one, or you can earn a ship through in-game events, which happen a few times per year, like anniversary events and everything else. But let's slow down here. Come to a stop. But the ships, I just love the ships. I love the ship combat. I think it's a lot of fun because of the way that you just, as much as I don't like the ground combat, I do like the space combat in this game, where you are, it depends on how do you want to play, because of this fact that you can, and we'll look at this here in a minute. Actually, let's just open up the menu here. I gotta go to ship here. So, like, looking at my weapons as an example, like, you have all these fore weapon slots and aft weapon slots, and you get to choose what goes in there. And so your phaser beams, as an example, have a 250-degree targeting arc, but you could also choose to put cannons that only have a 90-degree arc, so they only shoot in front of you 90 degrees. You could also choose the ones that have a full 360 firing arc. There's pros and cons to those. You can choose from proton torpedoes to different quantum torpedoes and all these other things. There's a lot of different weapon types, and it kind of depends on, well, how do you want to play your ship? Do you want to be, a huge damage dealer that's focused on frontal attacks? Do you want to be able to do less damage but shoot from 360 degrees? Do you want to be heavily focused on, torpedo damage, or do you want to do mostly missile damage? Or what is it that you want to be doing with your ship? That's going to dictate. And also the different types of ships that you can get, which have different stations available. So, for example, this one has a couple of tactical, a couple of, engineering and one science? Yeah, I always forget which is which. A couple of engineering and one science. And the other ones have more science, less tactical, so on and so forth. What kind of ship do you want? There are a ton of ships here, and I think that's one of the really cool things about the game, is not only the amount of ships that they have available, but the amount of customization that you can put into your ship to make it your own. Let's go take a look at this real quick. Let's go down to can we dock here? Gotta get a little closer to dock. Let's dock at the station. We'll run down, because I wanted to show you some of the customization aspects of it, because this to me is something that's really, really cool about this game, is the way you can customize your ship and all the things you can do to make the ship your own, and all the different variations of ships. I think this is something that's really, really cool about the way they do this game. So it is. So for example, here's the ship vendor. So if I wanted to acquire ships, they have different ship types. So you have cruisers, escorts, science vessels, shuttles, so on and so forth. And then we could, get a new starship. They have the different tiers, and the different, the higher the tier, the bigger the ship. Essentially, the more powerful the ship and everything else. So looking at the T5s, which is what I'm currently flying, we have the escorts, we have the cruisers, we have the science vessels. Then there's warbirds. And then there's others, which there are different ships that you can have. And they have various different currencies attached, depending on what you want to buy. I've enjoyed the cruisers so far. I'm running the assault cruiser right now for the T5. But they've also got, as you can see going in here, the dreadnoughts and the heavy cruiser retrofits and the Odysseys and just all sorts of different styles of cruisers that you can choose from. But then beyond that, once you have a ship at your disposal, you can go over here to the customized ship component and, well, let's just look. What do you want your ship to look like? Do you want it to, these are the different kind of skins that you can choose, and then from there you can customize the colors and everything else. So I chose the skin that I have right now, and then I chose to customize the colors with purple and black and gray and the windows styles, because you can go into the advanced and change all the different materials, the styles, the patterns, the colors of the window, the types of the windows, and then the interior. Now this is the one area where I will say I've read online, I don't know if this is true, but I've read online that if you're playing on the PC version of the game, you actually have a whole interior of the ship to explore. That's not the case with the console version. On the console version, you can only go to the bridge. We can actually go look at that right now. Now let's exit without saving. If we go to return to ship, we can say visit Starship Bridge. That's the only place I can go to on my interior of my ship is the actual bridge. And if we did that, it's very simple. But through that customization menu, you can change what this bridge looks like. And so there's different styles of bridges and stuff. And then somewhere over here is my ready room, and I forget which one of these doors it is. I think it's this one over here because those two lead to the turbo lift. Now again, if somebody can confirm for me in the comments below, if you're playing on PC, I've been told on the PC you can actually explore a whole range of interior locations on your ship, but that those aren't available on the console. I don't know if that's true, because again, I'm still relatively new to the game, but this is one area of the game that I absolutely love: the customization of your ships and all of the ship options. So between the story and this, I think it's a lot of fun. So let's talk about the third aspect of the game that I think is really cool, but also overwhelming, and it's one of the things that I'm sort of looking forward to learning more about as I continue to dive into the game. So I have barely scratched the surface and don't even fully understand yet all of the sort of in-game options that are available for your characters. So starting off, looking at, say, my crew members. As I understand things, as an example, I would go over here into her, and this specializations. It says training manuals required. So apparently I can teach them different things with, it's just this officer is ready to train in a specialization, but I have to have training manuals, which I don't have yet. And I guess I need to get those. I don't know how to get those. Are those crafted? Are those dropped? Are those purchased? Are they from quests? These are things I don't know. This is the complexity of the game that exists way beyond what I've done so far. Because literally, when I started this game, however long ago it was now, 6-8 weeks, I started the game, I started doing storylines, and I've only done storylines. I've done a couple of the instances, the dungeons. I think they're not dungeons, but they call them something else in this game, and I can't remember, TFOs or something like. I can't remember what it stands for. Task force, that's what they're called, task force operations. I've done a couple of those that the missions have prompted me to do, but for the most part I've just done single player storyline content, and I haven't needed to worry about all this stuff. But now that I've got to level 50, apparently I can teach my characters or my officers specializations. So that's something I don't know enough about. I got to learn more about it. Then there is the components of like research and development, which is the crafting. Now, I've done a little bit of crafting, so I kind of understand the basics of crafting. But one of the things that they don't tell you, there's no tutorial on this, and this is an area where I think the new user experience is a little lacking, but they don't tell you how to salvage gear at all. And they don't even tell you that in order to get some of the resources that you're going to need for crafting, like the best way to do that is from salvaging gear that you get. So instead of selling it or recycling it or whatever you're going to do, you can actually salvage a lot of the stuff you get, which breaks down into craftable materials. None of that is laid out in a tutorial. So I was literally asking people during a live stream, and I had very helpful community members who were like, oh, this is how you do this, this is how you do this, this is how you do this. But I've not even scratched the surface. As you can see, I've only unlocked the first 2 slots here, and it was me literally just coming in here and going to projectiles and like dinking around with getting to level 2 and making like proton torpedoes. So I don't know enough about specializing my characters, my away team, and my bridge officers. And then there's the whole crafting component, which I don't hardly know anything about. Then there is my specializations, which I just unlocked the other day, which I guess I have specialization points now, and I can put those towards things beyond level 50. And I guess the next question is, if it goes to level 60, is it just these are the next 10 points that I get? And instead of spending them on captain skills like I used to, do I spend them on specialization skills? Or is it a combination of both now? I don't know. But this is what I'm getting at. There is a ton of stuff to do that I've got to level 50. And I just feel like as much as I've invested in the game up until this point, there's still so much more to be done. And then this is this thing where now I've got this thing, it's called Endgame, and I can join random task force operations, PvE task force operations. There's this thing called Reputation, which I kind of understand because I ran like the New Romulus as an example. I did the New Romulus missions, right? And I was given these marks, which I then used the marks to. Matter of fact, I have a reward to collect here from that one. So I actually did that mission. So this is another aspect of the game that is just don't know anything about. There's no tutorial to teach you how to do it. It's just there. So there's a lot of stuff I don't even know. And like, what are endeavors? I don't even know what endeavors are. These like they look like tasks maybe that have timers on them and they repeat, or maybe they refresh. So these are like do this and you get a reward. Okay, so I kind of understand that, but I haven't even tapped into that. So I just feel like, and then in terms of duty officers, I kind of understand the duty officer stuff. I've done pretty much a long way of these. I've been doing these for a while and completing the chains and everything else. But I just feel like even though I've spent as much time as I've spent getting to level 50, there is now all this other stuff to do, and I haven't even finished the mission episodes because I'm only like 30% of the way through for all of these missions. So I guess for me, knowing that there's all this end game stuff to do, if I want to, like crafting and specializations and task force operations, and I'm assuming those lead to raids. There's also, on top of all of that, seasonal events and the event campaigns. So I'm like looking at this going, this is why I did a couple of these events, but there's all this seasonal stuff where you can come in here and go, oh, now I can do these dailies and I can get these tokens which you use, and maybe you get a chance at a T6 ship and all this other stuff. So I've said all that to say this. This game has a shitload of content. I mean, an overwhelming amount of content. Because as much as I have done to get to level 50, and as much as I have learned in terms of having to learn how to use your abilities and use your kits on ground missions, and how to do your abilities and use your kits and everything else for the space combat, and slotting different officers into the right place, and understanding how to change their abilities so that you could do different things in combat, like and all of that, like game stuff leading up to the level 50, and then getting to level 50 knowing that I could still level up to level 60, and then beyond that there's still all of this other stuff that I can do, plus events, plus raids, plus PvP, which I will never do, but all this other stuff. I just feel like in terms of value for your money, this game is an amazing amount of value. I have still not paid a single penny to play this game. That is ridiculous to think about, that I've spent 6 weeks or whatever it is now playing this game. Probably, 5-ish hours a week, maybe 10 hours a week. I'm probably, I don't know, probably 40 hours in at this point. I might be more than that, but I'm probably 40, 50 hours in, somewhere in that ballpark. The fact that I haven't had to spend any money yet blows my mind. And obviously I could, like if I wanted to get a T6 ship, it would be really easy to go buy the 2500 Zen marks that I need. But I can also earn those Zen marks in game just by playing the game and continuing to grind. And I have no problem doing that because my T5 ship is more than capable of handling all of the stuff that I'm going to be doing from those missions because they're old missions and I don't have to do any of the. I'm not doing new content that needs me to have the best ship, and I'm not doing PvP, which requires the best gear and the best ship and everything else. So I think it's worth supporting. If I played more hours per week, I would probably go VIP. And I did go VIP in the past when I tried this game many, many years ago. For those of you who remember, when I first talked about this game, I said that I played it all the way back in like 2014 or something, and I subbed for like, I think 3 or 4 months. And I quite enjoyed the game, but I was doing it for R&D purposes, so once I was done, I moved on to other things. This game is now in my rotation, in the same way that Star Wars The Old Republic and Lord of the Rings Online are in my rotation. And if you've ever watched me play Star Wars The Old Republic or Lord of the Rings Online, you know that pretty much I will play those games free to play throughout the year, but every year I always sub for 3 months to 6 months because I always end up doing a 3 to 6 month block where that's the only game I focus on for content purposes and like if I'm wanting to get through the most recent expansion. So as an example, right now I'm doing Star Wars Old Republic free to play, but I'm getting ready to get to the point where I'm ready to do Onslaught and Legacy of the Sith expansions. And the moment that I'm ready to do that, I then pony up and spend for a 3-month block, and I go do the expansion content so that I get my character up to speed with everything that's current. And I do that with Lord of the Rings Online as well. And I have a feeling now that this game is in my rotation, I'll be doing that with this game as well. And the cool thing about this game that I think is the end takeaway for me is that it is now in my rotation in a way that it never was before. And as long as they keep producing good content for it, I'm more than happy to keep supporting it and playing it and coming back around and seeing what I can get out of it. Because I love Star Trek in the same way that I love Star Wars, and this is a really good game. It does have its clunkiness. I don't like the graphics on the character models. I don't like the ground combat. I really struggle when I have to do ground combat missions that are consecutively. Like there was this one where I had to go to this planet. This is the new Romulus ones, I think it was, where I was stuck on that planet for like 6 missions, and I was getting a little irritated. I was like, come on guys, put me back in space because I really don't like ground combat at all. But the storyline keeps me going. So I don't know. In closing, I think that Star Trek Online is absolutely worth any amount of time you want to put into it. I think it's worth money if you want to support it monetarily. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Getting to level 50 now and understanding that there's still so much ahead of me. There aren't very many games, especially when it comes to MMOs, there aren't very many games I will play 30, 40 hours of and then say, oh yeah, I like this enough that I'm going to keep playing it. Never happened with World of Warcraft. It never happened with Final Fantasy XIV. Like, I've played those games for 40, 50, 60 hours, but there's always a point after 40, 50, 60 hours where I'm like, no, I'm done. I don't have any desire to do this anymore because it's the same old shit. You know, it's repeatable fetch quests and boring, you know, not good voiceovers and not good writing and just generic fetch quests. This has good writing and actors I like, and you know, it's science fiction, which I love, and good stories. So, and it's in an IP and franchise that I love. So, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm going to continue to keep playing it. So, that's my take on Star Trek Online after getting level 50 and putting, I don't know, like 40 hours in or whatever it is. So, take that with a grain of salt. Now that you've gotten to the end of this, hopefully you like this. You'll like, subscribe, hit that bell icon, and do me a solid if you did like this video, and you can. Not everybody can, but if you can, please support the channel, because I only get to do this because of the support of our community members. So on live streams and premieres, super chats, you can use the pre-programmed button down below. You just hit that super chat button, and YouTube pops up a window that has 3 different amounts that you can choose. It's like $5, $10, and $15, but you can also put in whatever you want. $2, $20, $52, whatever you can and want to. Same thing with super thanks. The super thanks are what you could do on a video after it's been uploaded. There's a heart button. Click that. Same thing. You can also do super thanks on any YouTube short you see of mine. Plus, there's memberships here on YouTube. We have 3 different tiers starting at $3 a month if you want to support. We do private videos, polls, and fun stuff for our community members. And we have a Discord plus a Patreon page if you want to get into the game dev stuff that I work on with my wife and my brother. We have a tabletop world, source book, adventure modules, art packs, map packs for the tabletop freaks out there who love tabletop like me, and also a point-and-click adventure game set in the same world and a book series set in the same world. It's my brother and my wife and I, so check that stuff out. Until next time, everybody, stay safe, live long and prosper, and thanks so much for listening. See you next time.